of chaplains, I grabbed the baton that was passed to me by Chaplain Hughes, and I had been his deputy for the prior couple of years, and so the initiatives that that he was working on. But a lot of the things that I did during my term as chief were getting his initiatives at least either over the finish line or closer to the finish line. The thing, if there's anything that I want to be remembered for when I am dead and gone and Civil Air Patrol is, 30 years, 40 years down the road, is that recruiting and retention changed the face of the Chaplain Corps because of the work that I did. And so that's my hope. I really have a passion for seeing our Chaplain Corps thrive. Now, currently we have, if you consider people with duty assignments, about 380 active chaplains with duty assignments, and that's assuming that all of them are active. Some of them probably are not as active. And then if you look at the way that the demographic slants in that Chaplain Corps, I'm 62, so I'm not exactly a spring chicken myself. And I remember Paul Ward saying years ago that the first time he attended a Chaplain Corps staff college, he walked into the room and the median age drifted to about 75. So we have a Chaplain Corps that skews in the direction of older clergy. What I do want to have happen, we've got about 1,330 squadrons. A decade from now, I would love to have 1,330 squadrons that each have a chaplain and a chaplain support specialist or two. I don't want to have 1,330 chaplain support specialists and 25 chaplains. So it's really important that we figure out strategically what we're going to do to start reaching clergy, interesting them in what the Chaplain Corps and Civil Air Patrol has to offer, and getting them involved in our program. So there are a number of things that I am working on right now on a strategic level to try to move the needle on that. One is 2 different print brochures that I'm working on. Out of all the military services, the United States Navy has the nicest chaplain recruiting brochure. And this particular brochure, which you can see here, is pretty simple inside. It's got larger type, it's got a lot of pictures, and it's just designed to communicate to clergy the basics of why the Navy would be a really cool direction to go with your ministry. And so I'm basing these 2 print pieces that I'm working on this Navy brochure. They've done a better job than the Air Force and Army on it, frankly. So one of them will be a trifold brochure that you can actually print out on your inkjet printer at home and hand to your pastor, or take a pile of them to your ministerial association meeting or whatever. The other one will be a multi-page printed piece that can be available for denominational conferences, where the Air Force Chaplain Corps recruiting folks have actually said, yeah, give us 500 of those and we'll take them and we'll put them out wherever we do our own recruiting and promote Civil Air Patrol as well. So we're getting some a great relationship developed with the Air Force Chaplain Corps recruiting folks in a number of ways. They've already got us, they've got a 1-page handout that talks about the Guard, Reserve, and active duty components of chaplaincy. They've now added a 4th column for the volunteer side and have our contact information. And they have been gradually sending us recruits, which is just thrilling to me that we've been able to establish that kind of relationship. And also trying to gradually get the Army and Navy folks aware that, don't tell somebody, no, you're too old. Tell them, no, you're too old for us, but contact Civil Air Patrol. So that's part of the process there. So the other thing that I'm working toward is social media strategies. We want to be able to use social media advertising and social media publishing to begin to reach into areas where clergy would congregate online, you might say, or at least figuring out how to target clergy so that when they're going through their Facebook feed or whatever, we have the ability to catch them with a video view or whatever. And so I've been working on some pieces for that. Let me see if I can share my screen here really fast, and I'll show you an ad that that I developed. Can you see my screen okay? Somebody, Chaplain Minor?
Yes, sir. Yes, we
Okay.
got it.
So let me see if I can make this thing play. And this is just a quick ad that's designed for a video view. Before you blink, the young people in Generation Z are going to be our nation's leaders. Becoming a volunteer chaplain with Civil Air Patrol, the United States Air Force Auxiliary, can help you have a big impact on the youth of today who will be the leaders of tomorrow. Go to capchaplain.com to find out how you can have a greater impact outside the walls of your congregation. Woot! So that's a professionally produced ad. I've got 3 of those that are done. And that's something that I produced at my expense, and that didn't come out of the pot at CAP. And so that's one of the directions that we're going, is trying to get some resources like that we can deploy out there in some social media advertising, get people's attention, do some retargeting ads, get them to the website. So that's, we're in the process of trying to get the website, capchaplain.com, transitioned over so that the Chaplain Corps portion of that is now residing on the national system. And then we're going to completely retarget capchaplain.com as a dedicated recruiting site so that we can begin to take clergy through this process of understanding what it means to be a CAP chaplain. So the other thing that I've got in the works is I'm planning on launching a podcast, because publisher perish is still a truism, that if you really want to reach people, that you need to be involved in publishing on social media. So one of the ways that I am aiming to do that is through a podcast. So I'll just play you our podcast intro really quickly. I'll share the screen so I can make sure that okay. So this is the podcast intro. How do people in ministry like us, who have a call to impact the world outside the walls of our congregations, find a ready-made place of influence that will make a lasting difference in our world? That is the question, and the Chaplains Changing Lives podcast will give you the answers. If you'd like to learn more about how you can have greater impact outside the walls of your congregation, go to capchaplain.com. All right, hey, thank you for joining me today on our podcast. We're going to talk, so anyway, that's in the works as well. And so the other piece to this is education and mentoring. And you know, this so far has been focused very heavily on clergy, because I think it's really important for us to build our chaplain corps back up. I think I'm sure Chaplain Murdoch could tell me the max number of chaplains that we've had at one time in Civil Air Patrol. I know it's been at least 800 or 900 or something. I want to get us up there to where we've got coverage, where you know, it's a rare squadron that we don't have somebody who's clergy in town. But I also think that the whole character, or the chaplain support specialist aspect, is vitally important too. So some of this comes down to an education piece. So part of that strategic approach to this is figuring out how can we begin to educate commanders at all levels about the importance of the chaplain corps, and that includes the chaplain support specialist role. And that's one of the reasons why we really, I'll tell you, we fought hard with folks at national headquarters to get this approved for us to have chaplain support specialists at every echelon all the way up to national headquarters. And that's a huge win for us, because that's going to be a really important piece moving forward in getting our squadrons to where they need to be, is having that not only the wing chaplain, but the wing chaplain support specialist, or the region chaplain support specialist, et cetera. So I'm wanting to move in the direction of trying to, is this being recorded? I want to get a chaplain portion in eventually the squadron commander's course. because I find by and large chaplains are not understood, or the chaplain corps is not understood very well by a lot of commanders. I have taught at the wing commander course more than once on why should we have a chaplain in our squadron and the importance of chaplaincy. And it's really a very important thing for commanders to understand, because if they don't really have the full picture of what chaplaincy and the chaplain corps, including chaplain support specialists, bring to the table, it becomes very, very difficult for them to be able to be on board with going out and recruiting. Now, the question came up at the very beginning of the evening, before maybe some of you were on, who's responsible for chaplain recruiting? Well, obviously everybody, but ultimately it's the commander's responsibility. And if a commander's not on board, it ain't gonna happen. So we've got an educational piece that has to come in there. And also the mentoring piece, that it's not enough for us just to interest clergy and get them to fill out an application. I want to see us get to a point where strategically we have looked at this mentoring aspect of how do we onboard a chaplain or a chaplain support specialist so that they become successful in that role and have the motivation to want to continue because it's working well and it's changing lives, and Civil Air Patrol is an exciting place to be. So that onboarding and ongoing mentoring piece is going to be really important for us on a strategic level as well in growing the chaplain corps to where it needs to be. So the ultimate hope is that a decade from now, we won't be seeing a loss of influence, a dwindling of numbers. I want to see us have a surge of influence, a surge of new chaplain support specialists and new chaplains coming in. And I wish this was moving a little faster for me than it has been, but I'm chipping away at it. And as in my professional life, my wife and I own an online training company, and we're right now learning how to deploy a lot of these strategies, and especially in terms of online publishing and online advertising and so on. And so everything that I learn in my day job, I am trying to apply to where we're going in Civil Air Patrol as well. So the questions that Chaplain Williams has got there coming out of this session, please let me know if you have a good story about why you do what you do in CAP that could inspire a potential chaplain. I really would value having those kinds of stories, because stories are what communicate to people the value of what the program is about. I also would like to know if you have any other ideas about ways to interest clergy in CAP chaplaincy. Please give me ideas. I will not shoot anything down as a dumb idea in the brainstorming phase here. I would love to get some more perspective on different angles we could pursue. And please let me know if you have an area of expertise or perspective that might make a good podcast interview. I would love to start fleshing out what a year's worth of weekly podcast topics would be. And if there's somebody that would be willing to come on and say, hey, here's how Ministry of Presence works, or here's, whatever, I would love to hear about that. And please also, if you have any high quality photos of a chaplain or CDI in action in a squadron setting or mission-based setting or any of those flight ops setting, any of those kinds of things, I would really, really value to have a better array of high quality pictures, images that I can deploy in that. And I also just have to give a quick shout out on the way out here. The couple of team members on the recruiting side who are doing a lot of the boots on the ground great stuff. Chaplain Aaron Cohn has just been knocking it out of the park, reaching out to clergy in the Jewish community. We've got a growing number of Jewish chaplains in our organization, and Chaplain Cohn I wish I had 15 recruiters that are as effective as Chaplain Cohn at interesting people in CAP who are in ministry. And also Dewey Painter, Chaplain Dewey Painter is down in Florida, has just everywhere he goes, he's shaking the bushes, and he is responsible for getting a lot of people in the pipeline for us as well. And those two gentlemen are just doing a bang up job on the boots on the ground side of the recruiting. So anyway, I think Chaplain Minor, I appreciate it's over. How's that?
That's great, but we have an overarching set of questions, sir, and that question all centers around waivers.
Oh,
we have how does the the Civil Air Patrol Chaplain Corps' desire to look like the U.S. Air Force Chaplain Corps with its requirements to go overseas and be pastors in churches, how does that conflict with our desire to get more chaplains when we have discussions going on about deacons? Can deacons be chaplains? Someone's bringing up that Ken Paris, our chaplain of the year, is a deacon.
Yep.
And now we have all these deacons out here that are really, really anxious to jump on board. Could you address waivers and how far we can go with waivers to make the goal happen, sir?
Absolutely. Now, the reason that we align with the Air Force's requirements is because we have an Air Force mission, and frankly, whoops, wherever it is, this cross on my shirt is not a Civil Air Patrol cross, it's an Air Force cross. If we were to say, okay, we're going to ditch alignment with Department of Defense Instruction 1304-.28 that lists all the requirements for military chaplaincy. In fact, I just had a recent discussion with Chaplain Bill Riley, who is the Air Force, or rather the Armed Forces Chaplain Board director at this point, and he was saying, "Why do you guys, follow these same requirements?" Well, it's because of the unique relationship that we have with the Air Force, and the Chaplain Corps actually has the closest relationship with the United States Air Force of any component of Civil Air Patrol, because of that Air Force cross that we wear and the mission that we're able to do as chaplains in Air Force assigned missions. So that is the reason, as the Air Force desires for us to grow in that mission, that we align with them. Now, if we were to throw that out, we would probably have to come up with our own cross. That's a discussion that's come up off and on over the years, and at this point we have continued to feel that the value of aligning with them is high. So the waiver is for the master's degree, and so there is no waiver for the bachelor's degree. We must have a 120-hour accredited bachelor's degree for someone to qualify. We can waive the 72-hour master's, not an MDiv. It's a 72-hour theological master's degree, which can include a Master of Arts. I know personally a guy I went through seminary with who's an Army chaplain who graduated from Multnomah University with an MA, and he's an active duty chaplain. So it's a 72-hour master's degree. We can waive that if the person has 5 years or the equivalent of full-time ministry experience that they can demonstrate. And so that is the waiver. The deacon issue is specifically related to a person's endorser. So for instance, the Catholic Church does not ordain and endorse deacons. So if you're a Catholic deacon, God bless you. You have a wonderful ministry in the Catholic Church. You're not going to be a chaplain because the Archdiocese of the Military is not going to let you. The Episcopal Church changed their tune on that, and they said, we are going to ordain deacons and we're going to endorse them for chaplaincy. And so it's completely dependent upon the endorser, because when I was chief, now that Chaplain Murdoch is chief, Chaplain Murdoch is not the one who determines you are qualified to be a chaplain in Civil Air Patrol. The endorser, who is a DOD approved endorser, is the one who makes that determination and says that Joe Jones here has got our stamp of approval from our approved, DOD approved religious group that we endorse Joe to represent XYZ denomination as a Civil Air Patrol or Army or Navy or Air Force chaplain. Does that help?
Yes, sir. I think it does very much. Chaplain Williams, I'm assuming that are there any other burning questions out there that need to be answered now, or did you want to take this to the discussion on Moodle later on?
Well, really the only question or the only comment that is showing up here is about recruiting video for CSS. I'm waiting for Moodle to reply to me. The video clip that Charlie showed on chaplain recruiting is outstanding. And the comment is, why can't we have a clip like that we should have a similar recruiting tool video to recruit CSS.
Great
You'd be
idea.
surprised how many
do it.
ordained ministers who do not fit the standards to be CAP USAF chaplain. So you're hitting a very nice thing here, sir.
Good, good. I think that's a marvelous idea. There's more video production that needs to be done. When we transition the website over to recruiting, it's going to be chaplain core recruiting, and I want to have a whole side of the chaplain support specialist recruiting on there as well. So we will definitely be looking at doing some video resources on there that promote both chaplain and chaplain support specialist recruiting. And excellent idea. The challenge that we have, often the chaplain support specialists are coming from within our squadrons already. The challenge with clergy is we're trying to attract clergy that maybe don't even know what Civil Air Patrol is. And we're trying to get them to say, huh, that sounds interesting. I should look into that and go to the website and start to learn that, oh, this is a great opportunity. But yes, absolutely, we'll definitely be working on some video resources.
Great.
And that was the only comment that I have in recruiting retention.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chaplain Sattgast, again, for that really informative and I think encouraging presentation. And so many are looking forward to this material. Lots of positive comments about the opportunity to get out there and continue to increase the number of chaplains and chaplain support specialists.
I also see a quick question here about other faith groups. And we recently had someone who was asking about whether they could become a Hindu CAP chaplain. There are currently no approved Hindu endorsers. There is an approval path for Buddhists, but I've had one potential recruit look into that, and the bar was pretty high to be able to meet the requirements of the endorser for the Buddhist faith. But there's more than one Jewish endorser. There are a couple of Muslim endorsers, and there are probably over 100 Christian endorsers. So I hope that answers that question.
I know that there was, in fact, one Army chaplain who was endorsed by the Hindu endorser for a DOD, but I don't know if there has been anybody since her.
It's gone.
Okay, very true. All right. Well, with that in mind, then I think we'll just wrap the gavel. And